I'm Brandon, and we're out here on another lovely day in the San Diego area.
What are we up to today?
So I am actually out here looking at my childhood dream car, which is the era of the 1998 to 2002 Chevrolet Camaro SS. This specific one is a 2000 model with 178,000 miles on it. So let's just go ahead and do a little bit of a walk around and see what it's like. This era of SS had different wheels from the Z28, as well as a little bit of an uprated motor because it had the SLP cold air induction hood with ram air on it. And I'm going to go ahead, pop the hood and show you that. As you can see, this cowl induction hood actually had ram air forced induction that would feed air into the air box right here, directly feeding a cold air charge into the intake manifold. So that gave it a little bit more power than the typical Z28. I believe this year it was rated around 320 horsepower. This motor was actually a derivative of the LS1 in the C5 Corvette that debuted for 1997, and it's widely known that the horsepower may have been just derated on paper on these cars. They were pretty quick for their day, and they still hold their own. So as I take a walk around this car, some of the things that you'll see about the SS, you had a little bit different front fascia than the base model cars. You have fog lamps on it. You had they were 17-inch wheels, and I believe at the time it had Goodyear Eagle tires, 275 width in the rear, which was wider than the typical Z28. This particular one also has T-tops and the black upper area, which I always liked this contrasting a little bit. It reduces the visual height look of the car a little bit and just adds a little bit sportier look to it. Also love the practicality of it being a hatch. You have great access to the rear area here. This is what I would say is the practical muscle car of the day, and 2+2 seating, not super huge in the rear seat, but enough to take a couple friends if they're willing to endure for a bit, and also take all of your cargo with you. If we come back here to the rear, you can also see that there are slots in the storage area where you could slot those T-tops in for when you take those off. So we're going to take a little test drive here in a moment, see what it drives like, see if we can find any mechanical issues, and maybe go over some of the cosmetic things I see, and then we'll come back and have a chat with the owner, who actually has owned this car since new. He was the first owner, so as I always say, that's a great thing. He's got all the history. This car was much loved, and hopefully I'll be the next owner. So the nice thing about this car, and I recommend this for anybody that's looking at a pre-owned vehicle, if you can look at it when the engine's cold, that's great, because you know, if there's any issues, you'll most likely hear it on a cold motor rather than when all the fluids are warmed up. So I'm going to go ahead, get in here, and start it. Gotta love the rumble of that LS1 V8. So on initial startup it sounds good. We don't have any oil lights, check engine lights coming on. One of the things that I like to do is take my automotive stethoscope, and you can get these fairly inexpensively, and just listen to the motor for any ticks or knocks that would be abnormal. So I like to go to the intake manifold. Everything sounds good there. I like to go over to the valve covers, see if there's any ticking valve lifters, anything like that. That side of the engine sounds quite good. That one sounds good as well. And then I like to go a little bit lower on the motor, see if we can hear anything like a rod knock. But so far so good. This one sounds real healthy. Okay, that all sounds good. So let's get on with our test drive. So we're now here in the car, heading up a local road and just kind of getting a feel for things. Powertrain feels real good on it. The clutch may need a little bit of work, but the shifter feels good on it. I believe these actually had Hurst shifters in them. It's pretty direct and easy to use. The clutch take-up is pretty easy. The friction point's easy to find on it. It will need a little bit of front-end work. There's some looseness in the steering, so we'll definitely want to get that addressed if we buy this car. But powertrain-wise, everything sounds good and feels decent. Running up through the gears, no real concerns. There's 5th gear. Does have all the usual 4th Gen F-Body things of the era. Interior-wise, you hear a little creaks and rattles, but this one looks very good for its age. She's 24 years old now and 178,000 miles on it. But so far everything's good. We've got cold AC, which is definitely appreciated. So we're just going to go up here, turn around, and head back the other direction. No check engine lights, no diagnostic trouble code lights, so that's nice. Yeah, I appreciate that this car was owned since new and loved by its owner, and we'll see about maybe freshening it up a little bit if we get it. So as I was saying, powertrain-wise and drivetrain-wise, I think this car is a pretty good candidate. Probably just needs some freshening in the suspension, maybe some ball joints. There's a little bit of looseness and jiggliness to it, but those are all things that can eventually be resolved with time and money. So let's get back to the house and take another quick look at the car and look underneath and see what we think. You know, these cars aren't as bad to see out of as I had always heard. Decided to go ahead and put the Camaro up on the ramps. This is something I do recommend if you have a nice cooperative seller like I do, just to get under the car, look things over, make sure that nothing looks in too bad a shape, check for any leaks, that sort of thing. You know, not surprisingly, because of the age of this car, it does look like we have a oil pan leak. Probably the gasket's a little bit dried up just from age. And some of that play and crunchiness that I feel in the steering, I think it might need a new steering rack. So we'll see. All things that can be taken care of with enough patience. It's 4 days later since we went and looked at the 2000 Camaro SS, and I went ahead and bought the car from Bob. Came to what I thought was a fair deal. It does have some maintenance things that needs to be caught up on. Overall, the car looks pretty good inside and out, but I'm gonna go ahead and set it back the way it was meant to be originally. By far the most concerning thing is the chassis and the way it's driving right now. It's pulling to the left and to the right under acceleration and braking, and it's pretty violent in the way that it's doing it. Also, there's just a heaviness to the steering and a lot of looseness and play that I'm feeling that really doesn't make this car very safe right now. So that's going to be first order of business to sort out. I think that we probably have some worn out control arms, maybe upper and lower, some tie rod ends. And I'm also going to check on the power steering rack to make sure everything is good there. I am hearing some noise from the power steering pump, so that may be a factor as well. The front tires also, if you'll notice, they are completely shot. So that's not helping our case at all. Additionally, I would say I need to sort out an oil leak. I don't know if it's the engine oil pan gasket as it looked like initially, but I'm going to go ahead and put some tracer dye in, clean things up, and see if I can find something that provides us any clues. I also need to source a new tail lamp here because this reverse part of it is currently cracked. So other than that, interior's pretty good. I am going to make sure that the seat bolts are tightened down. I could feel a little bit of looseness there, but everything inside's pretty good. Now, one other issue that I've noticed is under acceleration, the shifter is rising, so I suspect we may have a broken transmission mount, the bushings on that. It's likely that they're shot, likely stock. The shocks and the springs, so the strut assembly, probably are original to this car, so that's probably not helping our case as far as how it's steering, how it's riding. So we're going to sort that out, and hopefully once that's taken care of, get our oil leak fixed, this car will be back the way that it should have been.